lovely.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you doing today?
I'm just absolutely thrilled, and I'm thrilled to see you're wearing pink, and I'm wearing sparkly pink because, frankly, it's been a miserable day in London. It's grey, it's been dark, pouring with rain. It's going to be raining tomorrow, so I thought I have to have a few sparkles tonight.
I love it. And that's why Rossi and I moved to California to get out
Well,
of the rain.
exactly. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. My love to Ross.
Oh, lovely. Well, you have a little introduction. So here we go. Let's see if you remember this. Remember this tune? The theme song, You're a Star, to New Faces, where my guest was a judge and is herself a star and an award-winning journalist, author, TV celebrity, and broadcaster who has interviewed every high-profile name and rock star and is known for her no-nonsense, brutally honest opinions, whether in an intimate interview or a feisty political debate, earning her the title of Britain's wittiest TV critic. Fascinated by showbiz, politics, current affairs, and travel, Nina has a wealth of experience and knowledge of TV, history, and music. She was the first female editor of the 70s legendary magazine Jackie and was the original Simon Cowell for her role as a judge on the ITV talent show New Faces. Her celebrity interviews have taken her all around the world, from interviewing amazing people like Andre Bocelli to Elton John to John Travolta and Yoko Ono, and I am beyond thrilled that I get to interview her today. Please welcome the legendary Nina Myskow.
Hi there, Charlie. What a great introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. I should have like a round of applause for you at the end of that.
We can all applaud ourselves.
Yes, what an amazing career, Nina. Honestly, you have traveled the world, as I said. You have interviewed all these amazing stars. But the one thing, and I want to hear all your stories, the one thing I really want to know is, and don't break too many hearts here, but were you Kathy and Claire, the agony aunt in the Jackie magazine?
I was not Kathy and Claire. I have been Kathy. I was Kathy and Claire for a little time, and there are the Jackie readers from the 70s. I don't want to break all their hearts. Or shatter their illusions, but there wasn't actually a Kathy or a Claire. There was a series of young women in the Jackie office who took this great, responsibility very seriously. But there were nobody was called Kathy and nobody was called Claire. But they might as well have been.
And I did read that they did answer like every letter. I mean, as a teenager, I mean, it was so fantastic to have that, oh, I got a hickey, or, all the reading, like periods, what I learned about periods from Jackie and Claire,
Well, Jackie was the top-selling teenage magazine. We sold 1 million copies a week, which was extraordinary, and that was a small little demographic. And we used to get about 500 letters a week from teenagers asking all sorts of problems. And I thought to myself, and in those days, where else would they turn to? There was no internet. Who were they going to ask? And it seemed to me that if a little girl got together a pen, paper, wrote down her problems, found an envelope, addressed it, got a stamp, took it to a post box, then she deserved an answer as soon as she could get one. And the trouble was, we only printed like 8, letters a week. So if there was 500 coming, you're going to wait a long time for your reply. So I instituted a series of leaflets that covered, 30 or 40 every permutation of every different problem you could think of. So you'd get a letter saying, "Dear Charlie, I understand your problem that you're just too beautiful for all the other girls to like you, and it's it's a really difficult thing, and that your eyesight is not very good, and you're worried about getting specs." Now I'm enclosing a leaflet about where you can find specs and how you can find the best specs that suit you. But blah, blah, blah. So they'd get a little letter, a personal letter, and they'd have leaflets. So they had something in their hands, and they could say, well, somebody's thinking about me, somebody's listening to me. Because in those days, it was a black and white world, and young girls were very lonely. What did they have? They didn't have phones. They were by themselves, really. And
it's a huge responsibility.
Well, I did take it seriously because it occurred to me that it was such a vulnerable age group. When you're that little gap between girlhood and womanhood, between Barbie dolls and bondage, basically.
Yes.
There's got to be a transition, a way
Yeah.
that you can move forward. But you think you're the only person in the world that's gone through these problems, that's ever thought like this. And so to have somebody connecting with you is very, very important. And Jackie became that big sister, I think, to people.
I really believe
That's
that.
why we needed to be responsible. We needed to take things, with a
Yeah.
great deal of care. But it was fun. I mean, I'm not saying it sounds fairly pompous. We had fashion and beauty and pop stars and problem page. So it was fun. It was entertaining, but it was informative as well.
Yeah. I mean, you got to interview, I know I was reading that Elton John, you did this whole life story in the Jackie magazine, didn't you? So it was,
I did. And the thing was, I met Elton, I can't believe it, in 1967. So that's lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
And I was doing fashion, and Jackie magazine was based in Scotland. The readers didn't know that. They thought it was London because the address was in London. But I used to have to go down to, so it was done from Dundee in Scotland. And in fact, when you posted a letter, you posted it to the address in Fleet Street, and we'd have an overnight bag system on the train. So we'd get the letters in Dundee the next day. We'd reply to them on London-headed notepaper, and they would go back and be posted in London. I mean, I suppose it's a bit of a swizz, but I think they figured that kids wanted to know that London, was where we were based, and that gave us the good housekeeping seal of approval for teenagers, as it were.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was in London on a fashion trip, and the fashion PR said to me, "Oh, I've just taken on this new singer. Would you like to come and meet him?" And it was in Dick James music recording studios in Oxford Street. And I turned up there in the afternoon, and there was this guy, and he was very funny, a bit shy, and he was Elton John. I mean, nobody knew. He'd only called himself Elton John for 6 months, so sometimes he'd forget somebody called Elton, he'd keep walking. Anyway, we got on like a house on fire, and by chance he'd written a song called Nina that day. He'd recorded it that day, and he'd written it without Bernie Taupin. It was him, the words and the music. So he gave me a copy of the demo, and we went round the corner to a little cafe in Denmark Street in London, and had a cup of coffee and just chatted. And he was hilarious because I discovered then he's a great mimic. So he was doing impressions of all sorts of people, and he was doing Dame Edith Evans from Importance of Being Owner. So the handbag.
Yeah,
He was just really hilarious. So when I went back to Scotland, we kept in touch, and I'd write to him, and he'd write to me. And then a little while later, he said, "Look, next time you're in London, I've recorded my first ever album, and I want to give you a copy." So he said, "I'll take you to lunch." I went, "Oh, lunch, we're coming up in the world there." He must have got a bit of money.
You got some money then.
We went to the same cafe. Can you believe, so it wasn't, he hadn't gone up that much. And we were kind of chatting 19 to the dust, and he sort of inscribed the album to me, which was lovely. And we were chatting away, and after about 15 minutes, we both sort of fizzled out a bit. And he said, "Oh, are you all right?" And I said, "Well, I'm just a bit depressed about being stuck in Scotland. I really want to be living in London. That's where everything's happening, and I've done my time in Scotland. I feel it's time to move on, but I don't know how to do that." And I said, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And he said, "Oh, I think this album's a flash in the pan. I've got a complete writer's block. I can't write with Bernie anymore. I just can't write with Bernie. I don't know. I'm just, that's the end of it." I went, "Oh, don't be ridiculous. It's a phase." And there was a long pause, and we, ate our lunch. And he said to me, "Have you ever thought of writing lyrics?" And I went, "Oh, no, why would?" He said, "Have you tried?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, why don't you try?" And I went, "Oh, well, I couldn't." He said, No, come on, seriously. Promise me, when you go back to Dundee, you'll write some lyrics and send them to me."
Random?
Charlie, did I do that?
Oh.
No. I mean, I might have been absolutely, who's to imagine I could ever have been any good at it? But I didn't try. That's the biggest regret of my life.
Oh my God. To have written
Can you
lyrics
imagine?
to Elton John.
Can you imagine? Anyway, just to finish with Elton John, I mean, a couple of years later, I was sitting at my desk in Scotland, still stuck in Scotland, and this brown cardboard envelope arrived with a single, a demo, and a beautiful handwritten letter, and it said, you know, this is just the piano, me and the piano, but of course there'll be orchestration on this, but I wanted you to hear it. And he said, no, and of course, you know, Bernie's written the words, but I wanted you to know that as I was writing the music, I was thinking of you. And in this lovely handwriting. It was very nice. And I thought, oh, how lovely. Do you know what it was?
No.
Your song.
Oh, Nina, are you kidding?
No, I'm not. And the thing was, you know, I don't know if he sent that letter to anybody else. It was handwritten, so it wasn't some kind of pumped out PR thing. But he might have sent it to 20 people. I don't know. But on the other hand, I got one. Yes. So I feel very happy about that.
How lovely.
Yeah.
What a gorgeous thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely cool. And when my very first trip to LA came courtesy of Elton, he rang me up in Scotland and said, can you take a week off? And I said, yeah, I guess I've got holiday due. And he said, well, we're taking a plane load of family and friends. I'm playing Dodgers Stadium in LA, and we'd like, you know, you want no expense involved. We'll take you over for a week and come and see us at Dodgers, which is exactly what happened, which was extraordinary.
What an experience. Was that just like mind-blowing, to be in Elton John's jet with him, but to see him in concert? I've never seen him in concert, which I'm devastated about.
He is extraordinary. He will entertain the socks off you. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen him. I mean, very, very, very lucky. I mean, that was one time there, but I've seen him at other times in LA. I've seen him in New York. I've seen him in obviously London. I've seen him in Germany. You know, so I mean, seen him all sorts of places down the years, and he is just a great. And I've seen him in Vegas. Just a great entertainer and a good guy. And incidentally, I don't know if you know this, but he's just done a very, very funny little video on YouTube for the NHS here, and it's to persuade people to have their virus vaccination. And it's him and Michael Caine, and it's done in the form of he's auditioning to do the ad, and he sends himself up, and it's fabulous. So you must search it out.
Oh, I want to see it. Oh, I can't believe that you said he was shy at the beginning. I mean, look what he turned into.
Well, like exactly. But I tell you something, he did have hair at the time when I first knew him. He had, you know, a decent head of hair, yeah. But he used to dye it all sorts of colours, and he said that actually he'd used carpet dye because there were no products that gave him the colours that he wanted. He used carpet dye on his hair once, green carpet dye.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
God.
Well, yeah, so that could have helped this current situation along a bit faster than perhaps.
Yeah. Wow, how lovely though to have that relationship with someone like Elton John, but have known him from the beginning, you know, when he wasn't famous to the superstar that he is now. You seem to have that kind of friendship with a lot of the, you know, the major celebrities.
Well, you know, people always ask me, who's your favorite? I mean, I don't have favorites because every individual has something, but I'm very lucky that I've had the opportunity to meet and interview people. And I think if you connect on the level of an interview, and if you're doing it for print, and you know, a television interview is, you know, just a few minutes, a radio interview may take longer, but for a print interview, you probably sit down with somebody for an hour, maybe an hour and a half if you're very lucky. And I think you get to understand each other. You know, you know, it's not just me sitting there with a notebook asking a question and them answering or saying, "What's my next question?" You know, it's like this. It's a conversation, and that's what I've always loved about my job. It's when somebody tells me something that I didn't know they were going to tell me, and sometimes they didn't know they were going to tell me, and that's where it's really very satisfying. And so when you meet somebody like that and you get to spend a bit of time with them, they get to know you a bit as well. And I'm not
they trust you.
I'm not in the business of tearing people down. I try and be as honest as possible, you know,
Yeah.
what it was like to meet that